Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another Final Fantasy Randomizer community presentation on SpeedGaming. Today, the Final Fantasy Randomizer Spring Tournament semifinals continue with this round one match between Duck Don GregglyPuff and Podcast Hero Caleb. Here in the commentary booth, my name is RockSolid84, and I'm joined by none other than Thunderclaw. Thunder, how you doing tonight?
Doing pretty good. How's everybody doing?
Yeah, we're all pretty excited, I think. This is a huge matchup. Two very well-known members of the community, Caleb and GregglyPuff, going to be showing off why they're in the semifinals, why they deserve to be here, and we've even got some exciting blessings and cursings here leading to a strong black belt, which many think may play into GregglyPuff's hands.
It could, but Caleb's no slouch with it either, obviously making it this far in a tournament where black belts have been heavily favored. He knows his way around a black belt seed just as good as anybody else as well.
He definitely does, and you'd have to in order to get this far into the tournament. One of the hallmarks of this particular flag set as it evolves has been increasing malices, which can randomly make the characters better or worse, and sometimes much worse. And if you're a fighter guy, sometimes you can be forced into a black belt and vice versa. Anyway, the race is off when we see Caleb back walking right into the white magic shop.
Oh man, and level 1 fade for that white mage.
Yeah, they're happy they took a white mage and not a red mage because they wouldn't have been able to cast that otherwise.
Oh yeah, black magic has no damage sweeps, just zap and bane, so that white mage is going to be huge.
Yeah, it's really important to get that early AoE damage spell just to get levels, and to have one that's non-elemental is really key. Nice to have bane and zap though, it can help against Garland, and GregglyPuff heads straight to Topher.
Alright, so I want to point out my favorite blessing is on the Thief right now, that he can equip an Excalibur. I think that can come into play if you find an Excalibur early. That Thief can carry unpromoted for most of the seed. But the problem with the Thief is post-promotion, I believe he doesn't get promo spells.
Yeah,
so
you're right.
There's really very little incentive to go for promotion in this flag set, or in this team comp.
Yeah, no promo spells for that Thief. Level 1 white's all we're going to have, but, well, we've got Fade at level 1, and they took advantage of that. GregglyPuff picking up the canal and the tail, and has half of the puzzle to get out of the inner sea.
It looks like Caleb's doing the fill the inventory bug slash, not bug, but taking advantage of the system, I guess, a little bit, which has been a popular strategy for most runners going into the tournament. Just fill up your inventory. That way, if you find a monster in a box, you don't have to kill it if it's a piece of gear.
Yeah, Life Reboot jumping in chat and saying we should call that an exploit. I think that's a pretty good term for it. They've got small knives and wooden shields in their inventories, which, as you were saying, means that if there's a monster in a box encounter, it'll just display the can't hold message. And if it's something you don't need, you can just decide to move on instead of risking whatever that encounter might be. GregglyPuff finding a gold -2 in the Dwarf Cave.
Pretty big pickup right there for both Black Belt and Thief. Start with the Black Belt top slot, has the most absorb, move it to the Thief after the Black Belt gets enough absorb on his own. It's really nice.
Yeah, being able to equip a gold bracelet on your black belt can be huge, especially if we're going to be dealing with B-side encounters, because it can be hard to survive some of them. Yeah, gold -2, I mean, it has rolled down, so that's not the best, but it'll still help big time in the early to mid game. GregglyPuff's all the way down to Elfland, and Caleb is still picking up levels outside of Toph.
Looks like we're going to see a very early Marsh dive.
Yeah, that's some interesting tech. GregglyPuff taking a look at that Elfland town before resetting back to Marsh. He's got Fade, but no transport magic, so although he's not at a big risk of wiping here, it could happen if he finds something deep and tries to walk it out.
But this could be exactly the play that's necessary because we don't have bridge, and we could take the canoe all the way around, but this is going to be our safest early dungeon regardless.
Yeah, a lot of time with this flag set, you do get stuck having to dive either marsh or ice, and you don't want to make it all the way around to Revoca and realize that you have to go all the way back to marsh, or else risk ice, which is harder. So I do like going to marsh early if you've got any means to survive it, and 2 Fade Casters definitely qualifies for GregglyPuff.
Yeah, and with the town shuffle being on in the flag set at this point, there's no guarantee that the town at Provoke is going to be anything useful. Matter of fact, the odds are more against you. That's going to be something that you don't want to see.
Yeah, exactly. Of course, normally in the vanilla game, you've got your levels 1 through 4 at those spots, but once you randomize, it's just as likely that you're going to get Lefane or Gaia or something that you don't want. You won't necessarily get those free items. You won't necessarily get those good magic. But look at that, 41k in that box that Caleb just found. I don't think GregglyPuff opened that up.
Greg Reflex checks the box again. Ouch. Yeah, he got ambushed first time he saw this. Failed to run now. This might cost him his first dive. Oh, he gets out.
Yeah, you never want to lose it to a box that you could have avoided. I've definitely done that, though. Karib's hitting pretty hard. This Spectre Geist pack could be an issue depending on what skills they've got.
Thankfully, they rolled Dark instead of punches or anything else, so that was actually a blessing there. This will give him a good 2 levels or so off this fight, too.
Yeah, not the worst.
Getting level 6 as opposed to level 4 is pretty big on surviving Marsh Cave, to be honest. It pretty much close to doubles your max HP, which is really what you're looking to see is more max HP to survive some of these fights.
Okay, yeah, interesting sort of gamesmanship there, talking about number of levels to go into Marsh. It's not something that I would have thought about, but absolutely, yeah, double your HP pool, double your fun. So GregglyPuff heading in, going to check this trap tile, seeing a nasty Seafood Party pack, but getting very lucky with that strike first and finding the incentive item in the incentive vanilla spot.
So he's got to make a choice. Yeah, he's going to abandon, hoping that the bridge isn't here or necessary.
Yeah, well, I think the bridge can't be necessary, strictly speaking, because you can always get to all the towns. You just don't want to end up kind of orphaned in the top.
That is true.
Which is less likely to be a problem now that we've got Marsh down. We know that if we do get all the way up to the Provoca town location and we don't have everything we need, whatever we do need is going to be right there in ice.
I just noticed that Caleb saw ogres with glare on his way down, and I think the guy's thief. Or whoever was in the second slot.
Yeah, costing him one of his characters that, ironically, would have been better off in this Marsh Cave with those extra levels. But Caleb, though, still has Fade, still has high hit points, should be okay. Doing the top check first, this is going to cost him. Unless there's a good item up here, Caleb's going to take a little bit of a backseat to GregglyPuff now. So houses for sale for $9.45. I'd say that's an okay price. It's not great, it's not terrible. And it's good to see that they are for sale in this location because you can get it before or after you have the ship, before or after you leave the inner sea. It's pretty flexible. Good to know that houses are here. That's something that can really slow you down otherwise. But GregglyPuff's gonna continue along this river system while Caleb fades down some Cerberus for some good XP.
And I like Greggly's committing right now to having 2 characters up. He could have revived, but he didn't choose to, so that means he's going to use Black Belt White Mage, I believe, to get some power levels going and make his Black Belt Puncher kind of useful in fights.
Yeah, I kind of like to play. Another reason why this is beneficial to GregglyPuff is because he's going to get a lot of fade charges on his White Mage. I'm not sure how many the Thief will end up with. I think it only gets 2 when you've got that level 1 White Magic bonus. So it's going to be of limited usefulness compared to a White Mage who keeps getting more and more casts of it up till about 9.
Yeah, the Thief, helpful with the fades, but like you said, 2 charges of it runs out real quick as you start getting to dungeons at multiple floors. So it's not as great as it sounds. Oh, and there's the Excal -2 in top Marsh.
Okay, so we were talking about something that could potentially be advantageous to Caleb. Caleb's got a lot more money and has that XCal -2, so kind of a slow and steady wins the race philosophy versus GregglyPuff, who's already over to Crescent location finding Gaia.
Yeah, it's a shame that Excal rolled down. Had it rolled up and I was in the seed, it might tempt me to go with the Thief carry and try to beat out Greg's Black Belt with just running the Thief. But with the -2, that's a hard sword to feel confident with Topher.
Yeah, would take nerves of steel. I mean, the difficulty is chaos, right? You get to chaos, and then the XCal kind of loses a lot of its potency. Even at vanilla or +1 or +2, it's not what I'd want to rely on without something that we haven't seen yet, like those fasts and tempers, etc.
Chadbert, the other chest was the link chest, actually. Greggly checked her link chest and did not get the XCal.
Yeah, I like this silver bracelet pickup by GregglyPuff. They were vanilla for $1,000. That's going to do a lot of work for you. So it does take a little time to buy them and equip them, but GregglyPuff is going to like having that absorb going into potentially Ice Cave right away here.
And Caleb down to just his White Mage. And level 5, 85 HP as opposed to, at level 6, 100 and something HP. So you can just see how one level can make a big difference in early dives here.
Yeah, we just did. No, the White Mage brought down to single-digit health. Survives. Only about a few more checks. The White Mage might make it through, but there's going to be that Seafood Party Pack guarding the loot.
Yeah, and he takes his first wipe going down there.
Yeah, Caleb really losing some time here to GregglyPuff, who got that fortunate jump on the Seafood Party Pack, and GregglyPuff's all the way into Ice Cave now.
Now this is a scary play, as 2-manning Ice Cave with a sub-level 10 party on your 2 characters. Oh no, he brought them all up, okay. I was gonna say, this would be a pretty hard sell on me taking 2 characters in at this point.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Of course, GregglyPuff did pick everybody up and does have silver bracelets or better on everybody, so at least he'll be able to tank some of the hits. So, yeah, it kind of moves from the don't even try it to the this is feasible.
Yeah, and keeping that Thief alive for runs is going to be pretty big, because you're not going to have enough fades to take all the hard fights at this level.
Yeah, and we still don't know what's lying in wait with all these trap tiles and potential monster in a boxes. We could have another, big jumpy pack in here. GregglyPuff running into some adversity with these wraiths. They're hitting pretty hard, and they take out both of his mages and his Fade Caster. That's a reset right there.
Yeah, if I remember right, there was quite a lot of minus luck malices spread out on some of these characters. I believe the Black Belt has a minus luck.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. -10 for the Black Belt, and it looks like that's the only -5 for the Red Mage, but we didn't see them. So it's just the Black Belt, who already can't run very well anyway. So
yeah, the Black Belt's going to struggle to be a good run if the Thief goes down and Black Mage goes down. White Mage isn't that great either, so it's not a great 2-man comp to run early when you need to run from fights. So once those 2 run characters go down, it makes things a lot more difficult for Ice Cave.
Caleb, meanwhile, going the backwards way through Marsh, or at least that's what I'd call it, and has eliminated everything except for the vanilla incentive box by now. Yeah,
Caleb, I was going to say Caleb didn't get the first strike on the C-Pack, but they're throwing Gaze out that he's resisting and then missing a lot of hits. And he gets out of that fight with almost every single enemy swinging or doing something to him. That's pretty remarkable.
Wow, RNG definitely smiling on both of these runners with respect to that fight. Let's see if Caleb can run this out. Oh, doesn't pick up that oval armor. He's got a lot of money, though. could have been a monster in a box. In fact, it was. It was the Spectre Geist pack, and we don't know what else they have. So that strat we were talking about before, filling up your inventory, may have just paid off for Caleb right there, and we don't even know it.
Oh. Toxic on that Earth takes out too, so we're going to be down to that Black Belt White Mage who are going to have a hard time running away.
Oh yeah, these Earths are just loaded with
But
spells to make our day bad.
I guess I probably could have... I think that confirms that we're on A-side tiles when one Earth shows up in that fight.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. It's just one solo Earth on A and 2 to 4 on B, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct, yeah, and then the 2 water pack is also an A-side, so we're definitely looking at A-side grind if we're going to find a grind. Which means, to me, check your Mirage Desert for T-Rex too.
Yeah, something like this Zombie D works pretty well. This is a good-ish place to take a grind because you've got the ice tiles there to knock people down if you need to. I'd be scared about doing it right now, but it's something you could come back to if you didn't find something better.
Yeah, and then you got the 2 Fire Ds in the chest next to you if you want to take another easy fight or easy dragons, but they hit so hard, like you said, at this point that it's so risky to try to take a grind right now. But at the same time, maybe if they had low HP and you had the fades to back you up, it would be worth taking at least 1 or 2.
Yeah, that's definitely a skill I haven't mastered, knowing when to take a grind. But I think GregglyPuff's making the right decision by moving on here. I think he got ambushed as well, which is another factor. If they're ambush heavy, that can really ruin your day.
Now, he's going to have a hard time probably getting out of here with just his White Mage, but at least he's going to eliminate a lot of box checks, unless he goes down here, and he does. Yikes. So he's going to have to check that 6-pack room again instead of just bum rushing to the end.
Yeah, definitely doable, though, with this party that he's got with the Fade Casters. It is only a matter of time before luck rolls his way. He is still ahead. He may or may not feel that way, as Caleb makes his way up the river system, slowly catching up a little bit on GregglyPuff.
Right, yeah, it looks like he's about to make his way up to Ice Cave as well, and if Greggly takes another wipe coming down here, they'll probably be evened up.
Yeah, and those trap tiles weren't particularly nasty. I mean, the zombie dragons can be problematic if they jump you, but yeah, Caleb might catch up a little bit here. Of course, going to spend some time in this... Oh, it's Lefane. I guess Provoker was Gaia.
Yeah, and the Black Mage having Zap is pretty nice for things like waters. Well, anything really. Zap can be useful on just about anything that doesn't have a really high MDef. So Zap can help take out a couple waters if we get a 4-pack or, whatever.
Yeah, I would say big packs of hard-hitting mobs are the best use of Zap. It doesn't have the highest accuracy, and so I've been burned by it a lot of times. Caleb just uses it there to take down 2 Hydras with no problem. I always find like it's one of those things that I try to use and I just they don't drop for me. But that
yeah, I'm the same way. I feel like anytime I lean into Zap, I get way more resist than I see other people that lean into Zap, and Caleb is exactly the person that is like, I love Zap. It always works for me, as he demonstrates just now.
Yeah, for sure. So he did catch a glare from those ogres, but it's not at high risk here. GregglyPuff making through this Wraith encounter a little bit better than the last one. This should help with more of his party members up. He's got a better chance of getting through that 6-pack down here in ice and getting the job done at these low levels.
Yeah, we're looking at Gaia up here. So nothing we can really get an incentive unless it's for sale in the item shop.
Yeah, I didn't see... GregglyPuff was already through Gaia, and I don't remember seeing the incentive.
Yeah,
I'll just take a quick look and see if the tracker got it. Shop item is blank, so
okay.
Probably it's not there.
Yeah, I didn't also see the shopping trip through here, so I wasn't sure. Oh, 2 waters again for Greggly, so good run there. He's going to be able to avoid checking that zombie D tile twice, so he should survive all the way down to the 6-pack box unless he gets really stupid in the counter here.
Yeah, and I did just get a quick look at the item shop in Gaia. It's got some good stuff like houses and whatnot, but no vendor item.
Might as well take shadows. You're probably going to get 1 level on some of your characters this way.
Yeah, under level 10 or wherever they are now, you've got the Fates to spare, go for it. This is another pretty good grind tile, but even better, we've got the key, which is going to open up a lot of other options. We haven't seen the Eye or the Agami yet, and they could be hanging out at one of the special key-locked spots that are here in the Inner Sea.
So yet another required key item behind a somewhat tough tile to take early.
Yeah, and GregglyPuff moving on. I think that's the right play. Wouldn't check any more boxes. GregglyPuff is doing the same. You don't want to see 4 worms or something in one of there. Pops his house. He's safe. He's got his key, and they're about to do a high five in the river system by ice.
And Greg knows that whatever is going to be progress ship or floater is going, or incentive chain to lead to it is going to be out of this key lock area. So he's probably, unless the bridge shows up in key lock Canaria, he's going to have to do a big walk.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Unless
he can't even get to Corneria with the bridge not there. So,
yeah.
Unless he finds it in Matoya's cave, he's going to have to do the walk of shame back all the way around.
Yeah, I wonder if he's just banking on Matoya having the bridge and then the 3 boxes. That's.
I saw Fry T2 this the other day. This hurts.
Ooh,
we can't blame GregglyPuff for this. During this tournament, we've been switching that bridge on and off, and GregglyPuff just came out of a round where the bridge was on. So it's completely understandable why you get that.
That's been a weird thing with this tournament is the inconsistency with the bridge catches you off guard, but it's pretty funny whenever you see a runner in a high stakes race kind of bonk off something like that, or get looped, or go to the loot plate without the loot.
Yeah,
funny for the fans, not funny for the runner.
Yeah, it doesn't feel great. GregglyPuff doesn't lose very much time to it, though. And that's not the sort of thing that's going to decide this race. GregglyPuff is still ahead, and is definitely headed in the right direction. May check some trap tiles on the way.
And speaking of loot plate, it's nice that we got the 2 Topher required items really early. So now our brain can focus on all I need is my Enter Fiend Dungeon key items, and then I'm good to go.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But by the same token, I mean, the loot is something that you can ideally sort of last location because you don't really need it before then. The tail is another thing that they probably aren't going to use. But let's take a look at these trap tiles. GregglyPuff sees gargoyles at the first one, runs away, and what have we got at the second? It's going to be... Ooh, red D's. That's workable.
Could be the grind that we use if these are squish. About 109, 300. It's hard to tell at that point.
Yeah, I think that's not terrible. I mean...
Yeah, it's probably less than 300. We hit a high fade after a 100 fade, so it's probably around 200 or 300 at most. So, like not bad really.
You're definitely going to be one-shotting them at level 21, I think. So what GregglyPuff might be thinking is, let's just move on. And that's a really convenient spot to get back to later, even if I don't have a floater. So, I can come take that later if I need it.
Worth checking this is quick enough. A white D is not quite as good as a frost or as a red D, so we're gonna pass on that.
Yeah, exactly. A little bit less experience. The location's not quite as handy. Haven't seen their skills yet.
I just saw paralysis touch from the red Ds on Caleb's side, so maybe a little scary of a grind tile to see that on. There's a ship.
Okay, yeah, that's a factor for sure, and GregglyPuff didn't see that yet, so we don't know. Picks up a ship, doesn't check the rest of the boxes in the closet.
And Caleb lands a zap on a zombie D, of course.
All the zap luck.
Oh my god, 2 in a row, I hate this. I can't watch this anymore.
It's hard. He's actually doing this. He's doing it with zap.
He doesn't even have fade to back this up. He's just trying to zap and he's getting it.
I'm gonna be salty if this works for Caleb because I've done this exact thing and lost because of it.
I think he's about to regret his decision on going for it 3 times. 2 times, that's greed enough, in my opinion.
One thing it does do for Caleb is it does give him a better idea of what the zombie Ds have. So again, that's information for your grind later, and you're not in ice. You don't lose as much time as it looks like because you can just skip all of that when you come through the second time. So it could be some meta strategy going on here for Caleb.
Greg does look like he's gonna accidentally go to the gargoyles, but he's gonna do the red Ds. But Greg has not seen paralysis touch yet. However, whenever the MDef of the black belt gets to, I think it's around level 20 or so, your MDef is so high that you're almost never going to get a touch attack to hit through it. So it shouldn't be too long to be safe.
Yeah, and look at them going down to that 250 damage fade.
Red D hits for 109. That's kind of typical. That's not actually high for a red D. So, I mean, it's what you expect to see when you're grinding this kind of a fight. Yeah, they're pretty squishy. That was about 200, wasn't it? Or less?
I didn't catch that one, so all I know is it's less than 250. So yeah, if they're that low, even I don't know, this black belt getting 4 hits might be enough. Doesn't look like it'll be quite enough.
Yeah, they're like 180 or less right now, so that's definitely a good black belt grind. So now Greggly has the news that there's paralysis touch.
Yeah, I wonder if that's going to change his approach.
Personally, I don't think it would for me. I think I would still grind through the paralysis touch. And Greg knows just as much as I do about the MDef of the black belt.
Yeah, especially with other targets to put in front, and there's only one red dragon that you're ever going to see, and it doesn't hit with that paralysis touch every time. Black belt in the back row, your odds are on your favor.
And there's the thief down for Greggly. Now he's got to hope his black belt does the damage here. There it is. As long as Greggly gets a crit, his black belt can 2-round him at this point. But getting a crit with only 4 hits is not as common as you want to see.
No, this is good though. At this point, he can 2-man up to level 21 and then be good from there on out.
Mm-hmm. There we go. Caleb gets the key himself. It's not terribly behind where Greggly is, but he does have to make the trip around the continent to turn in this key.
Yeah, if Caleb decides not to check trap tiles, which I wouldn't expect him to not do, but if Caleb decides not to check trap tiles, could gain a progression advantage and then maybe find a better grind. But the chances are pretty good that he just winds up taking the same one that GregglyPuff's doing now, I would think.
But we only have 4 key items. By the time we turn the key, we'll have the ship, so 5 key item bonus for the grind. So like you said, if Caleb decides exploration first, grind last, the key item bonus stacking up for Caleb is actually going to be a pretty huge boon to his grind over Greg's grind if he finds, or if he does the red Ds, or even better.
Yeah, well, one thing that we could see Caleb exit the inner sea and go and check Earth first. I don't think that's a person would intentionally do, but if you forget about something, it could happen. I don't know, maybe I'm grasping at straws here, but there's still potential for divergence here because there are options outside of the inner sea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you have fades, so Ordeals is actually a pretty easy place to go check, and can be really quick too with the ship. Then maybe just swing over the waterfall and check what that town is. It's probably either Crescent or Provoca, because we haven't seen either of those. That's another key item. And then, like I said, waterfall have something that's easy, quick dungeon too. And you already get 3 key items out of that, possibly 4 if you find the vendor item in one of the shops there, like the vendor, desert vendor, or the town shop. And that's another 20% bonus key for EXP right there.
Yeah, I think they're only 5%. Oh, you're counting all 4 items.
All 4 of
that
them,
makes
yeah.
sense. Yeah.
And not mentioning if there's like chains to like element, TNT, and herb and crystal and all that involved with it. Bottle, we can also turn in the bottle if we come across it.
Yep. So GregglyPuff housing up, taking a few steps outside of Northwest before heading back in. Looks like we're still not quite to 21.
It feels bad. I mean, the mentality with Black Belt is generally your seed is going to be faster if you grind as soon as you find a good grind, no matter what your key item bonus is. But man, just killing red Ds with only 4 key items or 5 key items giving you bonus EXP feels pretty slow.
Yeah, it's going to be about 4,000 XP, a little bit less than 4,000 a shot once the White Mage goes down, and that is low. Typically, I'm not going to stop for anything that's got less than 4,000. This is just under the cusp, and it's in such a great spot, and they're so easy to take down that it does make sense, and I'd be doing the same thing, but I wouldn't be happy about it.
I kind of know the inner workings of Greggly's mind a bit, and I can guarantee you he himself is thinking, oh, this grind is so slow, I'm spending so much time on this grind, I hope this doesn't pay or bite me. I hope Caleb doesn't do something better than this right here.
Yeah, we talked about the desert earlier. I mean, that has been so big for so many runners this tournament. Going to that desert, checking those 4 different zones. You could find sandworms, you could find blue Ds, even a steak and wings. Look at this, though, a ribbon in the elf.
It's really big for probably your White Mage is what you would put that on. I know the Black Belt can't even equip a ribbon with the Malice, but that's not really a huge deal.
Yeah, it's having a ribbon is great, and GregglyPuff didn't check there. He'll get another chance to think about it if he picks up the herb, but if that doesn't happen, GregglyPuff may never see that ribbon.
Oh yeah, Greg is a very big proponent of, I got my Black Belt, and I don't have to open anything after a key item. I'm not going to look for anything else outside of places that have key items. He's a, I want to open 30 boxes or less type of person with these flags.
Yeah, and I think it's a good philosophy to have. You're absolutely right, because we saw him. He was in the Corneria armory and got his ship. There were 3 more boxes right there, totally risk-free check, but he moved on. So if he's not going to check those 3, he's not going to check the 4 in the Alpha Armory for sure.
Mm-hmm. Looks like Caleb's. Yeah, and look at that Thief. 3 hits, 293 with that X-Scout -2 because of the elemental bonus that's pumped up in these flags. So I'm saying that Thief's going to be very tempting to be your carry, but like you said earlier, you get to Chaos, and all of a sudden he doesn't get that bonus hit.
Yeah, it looks like Caleb is gearing up for Black Belt main. GregglyPuff, though, hits 21 and leaves. That's interesting. He could have taken that to 32.
I'd like to point out Caleb also got a first kill Bane on Red Ds. Red Ds don't resist the poison element, but still have such a high end-def that Bane is very low percent to even hit. But, Caleb's showing his luck with insta-kills.
Yeah, getting all the luck. GregglyPuff finding both pro rings and golds for sale in the Melmond area, which is Crescent. We're going to get an incentive item for free in here as well. So a lot of useful stuff here. Even Cap +1s, he's picking those up. I don't know if I'd spend the time for that, but they're cheap.
Cap +1s are questionable. I don't know if I would also, but it does fill the inventory a little more. So.
True.
Oh, no, he just drops. Oh, he's getting grabbed gold.
Getting gold bracelets.
I would have kept the silvers, just like I was saying, fill your inventory without going out of your way to fill your inventory. You know what I mean?
I do, and that's what I would have done as well. It's a little bit. I'm a little bit torn about it because on the one hand, I know that filling up my inventory is going to help me avoid unnecessary encounters, so that's why I would do it. Why I wouldn't is because it can be hard to know what you have in your inventory if you don't regularly clear it, and it's nice to have it all cleaned up like that.
Oh, heal 3 is a good pickup at level 6.
Yeah, definitely useful. That's one of the best spells to have on your White Mage because you can save a lot of time on heal potions if you've got that, and it comes in handy for the boss fights as well. GregglyPuff picking up a rod at Circle of Sages.
Rod is good. He probably won't run over and do that. There's no reason really to go out of your way to do that right now. But
Unless you think
whenever
you're
he
gonna.
gets their ship, he's good to do it.
Yeah, no, sorry to jump in on you there. I was thinking that he might go down there just because there are those 3 trap tile checks that he hasn't seen yet. So it's kind of like, well, maybe check those 3 trap tiles and then just clear Earth because you're there, and you might never see the floater.
Greggly did a pretty good heads up here. He ran out of heal pots, that's why he left his grind a little bit and went over to get the rod from that Crescent Lake at Melmon. Because he ran out of heal pots, he wanted to get more stuff for his grind to continue. So instead of going to Canaria, check the town you haven't checked yet, in case it's something that you can get, like the rod, and then come back. So a little bit of time save type of thing there, which was a good play for Greg to do instead of going with what was familiar.
Yeah, and it really worked out. He got incentive item for free, got a lot of, got some help from magic, got some upgrades to his armor. Really well positioned. GregglyPuff is very well geared. He's taken his grind. He's got his black belt up. Really just in the position to start smoking this seed. Money Mercs in chat jumping in with a comment saying that you're not supposed to equip the black belt with stuff, but what's better, no armor or something really good like gold +5? Always torn on that decision. And I'm right there with you, Money Mercs. It can be hard to know. Basically, the way that I do it is your absorb is the main thing that you're concerned about with most grinds. So you want to make sure that you have enough absorb to take hits. And a lot of times the gold bracelet's going to be better for that, at least until you get up to level 30-ish. And you can always check by equipping what you've got and then going to the status menu with it on and off to see what your absorb is. The other thing is magic defense. If you're fighting something that has a really nasty spell, you might need to equip the ribbon or the pro ring in order to protect yourself against that. And then once you've done that, now you have to put on the bracelet because your absorb otherwise is going to be really bad. So it all kind of comes down to that. And long and the short of it is, if you get to level 42 and you've got no penalties to your stats, usually you can just take everything off and you're pretty invulnerable. One of the many things that makes black belt grinding tough. People always say that black belt is too easy, or black belts just hold A to win. Well, yeah, once you've got it ground up, sure, but there's a lot of difficulty front loaded in getting up there.
Yeah, Caleb with the X-Scal though, with the Thief, instead of relying on the Fade to back up the grind, is getting that X-Scal hit. And honestly, Caleb's black belt's probably right now good enough to go by itself. But just having that fast hit attack go is faster than going into your menu, seeing the Fade animation, and maybe even having to see 2 Fade animations before level 21. So that X-Scal actually saving Caleb a little bit of grind time here, I think.
Yeah, and the other thing that's really great about this for Caleb is that he's getting a very high level thief out of this, which means that you can do better in terms of running away from things, but also ambushing things or not getting ambushed by things, having enough health to survive in Topher. A lot of people will put the thief to sleep, but Caleb's saying, hey, I'm doing a lot of damage with this X-Cal. Let's keep that thing up, and I like to play.
Yeah, it really has been a nice kind of unintentional time save for this grind. Obviously, you tend to do it after finding X-Scal, but finding X-Scal where Greggly didn't, meaning is what I mean by that. And yeah, I like the play, and it's the perfect time because obviously he's seen his black belt one shot, I think 3 or 4 red Ds now in a row, so he knows it's fine for the thief to go down.
Yeah, really impressed by that play from Caleb. It's going to save him a lot of time. He's going back in now with the black belt solo. GregglyPuff, on the other hand, is still further along, just because he got started so much earlier. And we're up to levels probably high 20s by this point. One thing I do notice, GregglyPuff is getting just over 4,000 experience per fight, and I think Caleb's not getting quite as much because Caleb doesn't have the ship. So Caleb actually found this on the way back to Corneria and then decided to take it right away.
So Greg at 32 at least. I haven't seen what he's at, but I did just see 8 hits. I thought I did. Let's see here. Oh yeah, 7. So yeah, he's gonna be 33. Okay, so he's gonna probably go at least 38, 39, if not all the way 42. I personally, I've always been a fan of go straight up to 42 in case, you know, your incentive that you need at some point is in Sea Shrine and it's on the way to Kraken. You can take out Kraken, no problem.
Yeah, you're comparing that to, say, stopping at 40 or something and hoping that you hit 42 on your way to the Temple of Fiends. I agree. And then the other thing, too, is in this flag set, I don't think even with fast, which we haven't seen yet, I don't think even with that I'd feel super comfortable going with the level 32, which would be your other choice. Hey, do I stop at 32 even? I wouldn't want to do that because the scaling is too high on the bosses in this flag set. We've got them starting at 100% and going up to 200, and I don't like my chances at level 32 without fast.
The 200% HP is what really turns off a 32 black belt from being able to safely get through Topher. If you don't get fast, say it's black, well, we got the tail, so we're eventually probably going to get fast no matter what. But, I mean, 32 black belt with fast could still take 3 to 4 rounds on Tia 2, more on Chaos, maybe just as many on Kraken 2, and that's a lot of turns to see some bad spells or just get bad punches.
Yeah, so Velik asking, you know, could Caleb stop at 32 with the backup Thief Excal? Yeah, potentially, but the problem with that is that if you're going through Topher, there's a pretty good chance that you're going to lose Light Warriors along the way, and we don't have any life magic yet either. So I wouldn't want to do that, and the Excal, as we've been saying before, not great against Chaos himself. I feel like that's spreading your resources a little bit thin. It's nice to have one really strong party member that you know you can count on.
Yeah, Ale, you're true, but you don't get a ribbon in this seed because the black belt has the Malice minus ribbon.
Right. I forgot about that. So GregglyPuff here, hitting for 8 hits still, looking like we're going to go pretty high. Let's see if he gets a level after this next D fight. There was 5 I just saw. Yeah, there we go. Level 39, quite high. So GregglyPuff nearing the end of his grind. Caleb, on the other hand, not that far behind, just hit level 30.
Yeah, it looks to be about 3 to 4 fights per level at this amount of EXP that we're getting, depending on what level you're at right now. And I don't know. That's 3 to 4 fights, like we were talking about earlier. If you finish at 38 and you plan on getting your 42 along the way, you're pretty much saving about 16 fights, which is kind of a decent amount of time. It's tempting. Like,
yeah.
This is something that gives you 16,000 EXP per kill. Don't have to worry about it. This is barely 4,000 and it takes a while.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I know we were just extolling the benefits of getting to 32 a minute ago, but yeah, counter argument is 16 fights and we haven't seen any of the Fiend dungeons yet, so we're probably going to pick up, 2 to 4 levels easy just going through Sea and Sky, even if we go mode them.
Looks like Caleb's planning on saying, I've done enough.
Yep, and though Caleb doesn't know, that's probably the right play for him. He's a little bit behind GregglyPuff and needs a little something to sort of get him back those minute or 2 minute to, well, let's call it 5 minutes max that he's behind GregglyPuff at this point.
And Greggly is also done at an even 42. He's going to get the rest of his party up and try to breeze through the seed as quickly as possible at this point.
Yeah, and being fully powered up at the 43-minute mark feels pretty good, even if you don't have the floater yet or much progression. I mean, you've got decent armor on the rest of your characters. You've got a black belt that's really strong. You know that you've got what you need at this point to pretty much walk in a straight line.
I remember a phrase that I believe I've heard Edworth use at many points is that if your levels match the minutes, then you're in a good place.
That is an interesting... Yeah, I've never heard that one before, but I mean, GregglyPuff was pretty much dead. 42 with 42. So GregglyPuff is going to go to Ordeals first. No warp, just going to get in there and get it done. Caleb, on the other hand, might not make that play. There's a lot of items over on the western part of the northern continent, so just as good of a case to be made for going there first.
Wasn't too bad of a pillar maze right there.
Yeah, GregglyPuff just pretty much went, got the first rise. Gonna fade down some man cats and see what's in these sweet boxes.
There's 3 more treasures potentially we don't care to see. I mean, 4 technically could be out there. We don't want to see the ruby if we don't have to. We don't want to see the power bonk or the white shirt. If the seed goes floaterless, then we really don't want to see the floater pop up in our last incentive that we're looking for. But otherwise, the first 3 we don't want to see come out of boxes if we're looking like Greggly right now.
Yeah. Now there is one of the monster in a box encounters you don't generally want to see. Fortunately for GregglyPuff, he's a high level, and this is a good use of Zap on worms. That's one of the only ways you can get them down easily, but he's going to be able to punch them if nothing else.
Yeah, I mean, worms being an enemy that's deep in the toe for a revisit, MDef's going to be really high again, so you're likely not going to see that Zap hit a worm, but it can hit.
So we got a last location box, and it's Oxyale. That's a good find.
So Greg is only missing a cube and a chime right now to be go mode.
Yeah, wow. Talk about the items really falling in a favorable manner. Other than that tail, everything we found has been pretty essential.
I mean, we got the Provoca item and the shop item. If those are chime cube, like those are easy to see, quick to get. Man, this could be a really beautifully dropped key item placement for these runners.
Yeah, and it would be the rare, fast, floaterless seed if things do go that way because of where we're at in terms of our sailing. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. GregglyPuff is about to land and probably check the vendor at the Oasis first before going into the town.
Yep, as is Caleb. Caleb's going to get there a little bit earlier.
Yeah, now this is what I was talking about.
Oh,
Caleb finds the ruby. That could be needed depending on how things go. But this is what we were talking about earlier with Caleb going left first and GregglyPuff going to Ordeals. Now, GregglyPuff ended up making the right call because Oxyale was in there, and this could be Honorak right here at the vanilla spot. But, yeah, it could have made a difference, that choice.
Well, I think we saw Honorak at Elfland.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, tracker notes say that Honorak was at Elfland.
But finding Elfland is 2 chances to see fast. Ooh, and life 2 and exit. Also cure 3. Really good level of white magic at level 3.
Yeah, and I like having my life spell and my exit spell on the same level for the most part. As long as you don't use your last life too, you're usually in pretty good shape with those two sharing a level. And this 2 at level 4 is nice as well.
Oh, that's some really bad black magic.
Yeah, that poor black mage hasn't been doing much this seed, has he?
And only heal potions in the item shop.
Won't be anything here in armor that we need. We've already seen silver, gold, and pro ring. Caleb moving on and just going to save up and head to the waterfall, I think.
So if the floater is going to be needed, it's either right now behind that ruby we just bought from the desert vendor, or it's going to pop out of whatever comes from this waterfall chain. If not, just straight up floater.
Yeah, I get a feeling we might see a quest chain item in here, and then they'll both be headed up to cash that in as well as the ruby.
I mean, technically we could get Chime out of here, and then Cube could be in Sky, but then, floater behind Ruby, or, there could be a vice versa there. But,
yeah, that'll be a hard decision to make if it does come that way.
It's going to be less, that's a pretty low odds of happening, in my opinion, but we'll see how the randomizer decided to randomize.
Yeah, I agree.
There, you hate to see it after spending so much time on that red D.
Oh, yes. GregglyPuff, I wonder if he'll pick up his... Caleb might pick up his last few on that eye.
But good news is that they both spent time on the red D. They don't both know it, but I bet both characters are like, oh man, the other guy found this eye and grinded it. I bet they're both going to think the same thing throughout this race.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that red D was pretty textbook, but yeah, you're right. I mean, if I was playing somebody like, somebody who was really aggressive, then I would be worried that that's exactly what they did.
So we're going to turn in this bottle from, I believe Melmond was our Gaia location, so we're going to just run that up there. Gives us a chance to run over, turn into Ruby if we have to also, so it's kind of the best case scenario for having to turn these fetches in, them being by each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And another chance for some regrets if we see the Agama, the Earth trap tiles, but you're calling out the ribbon in the dwarf cave or robot cave here?
There you go. Yeah, ribbon, but sorry, chat corrected me that but Melmond was Provoca, sorry, not at Melmond. Or not Melmond, whatever, Gaia. Gaia was at Provoca. So I was a little bit wrong there.
Okay, so chat asking if Greg got the ribbon, and I don't believe that Greg checked any of those boxes. That could be pretty big because Caleb now has 2. Another thing in their flame armor, I mean, if they do promote, which I don't think they do now that they've got their black belt where it is, but that is the best armor for a ninja to wear, and it did roll positive.
With finding exit there, I think even if fast is black wizard locked, you promote to get it, to be honest, because it's going to save you more than just, the 50 seconds it takes to run down and exit from Bahamut. And
Caleb does have a decently high level thief already swinging that X-Cow, so it will be tempting if they pick up the floater to just go and get that done.
There's that chime, by the way, from Sarda, so now we have a choice to make. We're going to probably turn in our bottle first to see what happens there, but... Oh, I like this. We're going to run down just in case this seed does get into floaterless territory.
Yes, absolutely go Mode Earth right now. That's another huge heads-up play by GregglyPuff. Really on top of his game today.
So yeah, we have the Oxyel too. I keep forgetting about that. So we have Sea Shrine available as well right now, where an incentive could be laying down. So I mean, we're actually, as long as we get a cube somewhere, we are go mode, and we might not need that floater. And there's a couple chances for that cube to show up.
Yeah, well, Onrak being at Elfland, if we clear out Earth now, as GregglyPuff is doing, then Onrak is on your way to the sky anyway, and that might be where the cube is. So seems to me that would be the play after you turn in the bottle, of course. But if Well, if the bottle turns into a floater, then there's all kinds of decisions to be made. So I guess we can't really predict the path at this point.
I definitely would check after Earth Cave. I would check on rack and go to Oxiel. I mean, check the Sea Shrine. Do that and see what pops out of there.
You
And
would.
then,
You wouldn't chase items?
I would save Sky for last, to be honest, for that cube.
Yeah, well, if the decision is full clear sea versus full clear sky, or potentially full clear either of those, then I'd be the same as you. I would have a preference towards sea. But what I'd be thinking is it possible to maybe go mode them both?
Still think with the way on-rack lands, it's faster to do it first. Unless I'm misunderstanding what you're meaning.
Well, like, let's say we get the floater, right? Then we could jump up in the air, find our slab. Sorry, we don't have the slab, but we could...
Yeah, if we get the airship, it changes the calculus quite a bit, because we know at this point Provoca and Melmond are our two airlocked towns. So you definitely look for Provoca first if you get the floater, in my opinion.
Yes, sorry, that's the missing piece. I knew there was something out there. That since Provoca has an item that could turn into all of the rest of the items, I would want to do all of those, and then I could hope that I could full clear. Go mode sea and sky both together. It's not necessarily going to roll that way, but it could, and I think we're on the same page that that's what you want to do if you can.
Sure. We're going to get a look at the bottle turn-in from Greggly, it looks like. Greggly has his Earth Orb. Tracker doesn't have it yet, but I'm sure is getting it. And then he's kind of close enough to Volcano that maybe if he gets a cube here, he goes down and does it real quick before heading out with his boat. Doesn't check for fast in the level 7 shop, so maybe he doesn't even consider promoting for fast.
I don't think well, it's such an easy check, you might as well check level 7. But anyway, you were talking earlier about Volcano. Yeah, that's one that is so fast to do that it does make sense to do it now. Getting the TNT, but this is sort of what this sort of just kind of sends you, okay, well, what's the next thing going to be? So TNT could turn into adamant, which could turn into crown, which could turn into herb, and you're turning into crystal, you're chasing all that stuff, and you kind of just have to see what the seed gives you at this point.
I mean, they're all inner sea, so they're not like all out of the way. You don't have to go across the world to turn them in, but it is a really annoying long fetch chain that's potentially right here. And it could lead to absolutely nothing, like a power bonk or a white shirt.
Oh, that would be so trolly if that happened. Caleb is, let's see if Caleb's doing anything different. No, it looks like very similar routing here. May even do the Earth Cave right now.
Yeah, I would imagine Caleb also is going to think about, let's get Earth Cave done. I'm right here now. Ooh, slab. So now the calculus says floater has to be in either Oxiel or the Mirage.
Yes, that's right. I forgot about C. So my bet would be, as you and I were saying early, let's go to C now and do that. Because it's probably going to be faster. You're going to get a ton of experience. You're closer to it. And, I mean, yes, the cube can be in the lower part of Sky, but even if you found that, then you wouldn't have the floater. You'd know it's in C, and you'd be thinking, it's still early enough that could be useful. And you might still want to go back and get it, depending on how you feel about your position in the race.
Nothing would feel worse than sailing down to Mirage, gambling that this incentive is in Mirage, not Sky, and it not being there at all. And then you have to ship back to come here. Just reward risk isn't worth it, if you ask me.
Yep. So chat is asking about the flags. We're into the semifinals of the spring tournament, and I guess the banner news about this particular flag set that we're in now, the lowdown is that we've got Town Shuffle on, which makes the early game difficult. We've got
2 bonuses and 3 malices per light warrior, which can also make the sea difficult all the way through, depending on how things roll. And we've got clamped bosses in Topher, so that means that they're going to start at their base stats and roll as high as 200%. The other big thing that can't be forgotten about, we haven't talked about this at all, is a very high encounter rate. We've got 0.8 encounter rate in dungeons and 0.9% on the overworld, which means it's almost vanilla in terms of the encounters that you get, and it's good to have running. So both of these players have been making this flag set look really easy. They're at an hour and they're doing very well, but this is not a beginner flag set for sure.
Yeah, the high encounter rate's going to come into play in Topher, especially. Getting a lot more encounters on each floor, a lot more danger for each encounter too. Could end up just seeing light warriors drop to just random fights.
Yeah, so GregglyPuff has decided to go mermaids first. This is an interesting choice. Without warp, I would have preferred to go left side. So far, we haven't seen the item, but it could be here, and if it is, then GregglyPuff could sneak a little bit of a further advantage on Caleb if Caleb does the common wisdom. Oh no, Bubbles has been turned to Bubbles.
Not in mermaids, but we still have the other couple chests on the floor before that it could pop up in.
Yeah, TFC floor. Not fun, but will be pretty huge for GregglyPuff if it does turn out to be here. Picks up his black shirt. That's not going to be super useful, maybe as armor, but you'd have to promote to take advantage of it, so don't think that's going to be a big factor. Oh, is it the white mage that's got a black shirt permission? Yes, it is.
Nice. So there's some. I mean, we got. Greg actually doesn't have the ribbon, so it does add time elemental protection on that white mage, which Zap shows up in Topher, so could be good.
Yeah, and ice resistance too, right? I mean, we haven't seen a lot of things like frost that could be problematic.
True.
Yeah, this white mage is a rocker. Popped on the black t-shirt. Is it going to be TFC?
Oh man. Here comes Caleb, also in C. Here's where Caleb could make up a little bit of time if he decides crack inside first, which I think Caleb's generally of that mindset.
Yeah, we just established that it is going to be on the left side. And then the other thing is, if it turns out to be the floater, that'll give Caleb a move. Well, I mean, they'll both get it at the same time, but Caleb getting it earlier in his relative progression, it's kind of going to give him a bit of a jump on GregglyPuff, potentially. We'll also open up promotion, which for Caleb is more useful than it is for Greggly. So,
yeah, because right now we've seen level 7 on-rack and Fast wasn't there. So Fast is probably Provoca, and if not, level 8. And you're going to need to promote for that level 8 Fast. But you're also going to need your Black Mage to have at least level 25.
Yeah, that's right. And then you've only got one cast. So it's like, where do you use it? Do you use it on Kraken? Do you use it on Tiamat? Do you use it on Chaos? You'd want to get your second cast at level 26 and then your third at 28. And that could be some extra time. GregglyPuff, though, picking up the Adamant. So this could still be something good, but it's going to extend out the knowledge a little bit.
Caleb does have the 2 ribbon advantage, too. That's nothing to shrug off, because, Fiends and Topher have quite a few insta-kills. Greg's White Mage can be very vulnerable to any of them, and without Fast, you're almost guaranteed to see a couple rounds from the last 3 Fiends, giving them chances to throw those out.
Oh, definitely. Topher's looming large right now because Caleb did just pick up a bunch of time by going left first. Does have a more diverse party with much better defense to form those two ribbons. So, yeah, I mean, at this point, GregglyPuff's ahead, but their different party composition could make all the difference in Topher.
Now we'll see how scary Kraken 1 can be. It can be scary. It's really hard sometimes. 6241 isn't the worst, though. Should be fine with that kind of a damage hit. Oh, there it goes in one turn anyways.
Yeah, the good thing about this flag setter, the way that it's somewhat kind, is the HP isn't too bad. The HP scaling is not too bad. So even if the fiends are tough, if you've got a way to hurt them, you can get lucky and just get them down before they get you, as we saw from GregglyPuff.
Yep, it looks like we have Floater out of the Sea Shrine Adamant right into it.
So this is going to give more of an advantage, relatively speaking, to Caleb than it would to GregglyPuff if this had been a floaterless seed, because Caleb's got more progression to do and the floater speeds all of that up, and Caleb can also promote, which, as we said, is going to help his party big time in Topher. So basically it's the best thing that could happen for Caleb at this point. Caleb's tracker not showing the Earth Orb. I guess Caleb didn't get that.
I don't remember if he went down to Earth. I don't think he did. I think he went right over to Sea Shrine after Sarda.
Okay, so GregglyPuff in the air at 105. In the air at 105 with your grind all done, that's good. That's really good, especially for these flags. GregglyPuff heads straight to the volcano. This is just a matter of getting the orb lit. We're not going to do anything else here. It's just going to be a beeline straight to the boss.
And then we're getting more and more likely to come across that cube every incentive that doesn't turn into it. So we got two of them to do with the floater with Melmond and Provoca. And then the last one being Mirage could have cube, worst case scenario right now.
Yeah, exactly. Which isn't that bad, because if that happens, you'll know that it was pretty much forced, and that you're both going to be dealing with it. So GregglyPuff is going to go through Volcano, going to beat that up, and then probably continue to check towns after that.
Yeah, that's the plan I expect. And of course, Caleb gets the Bane on Kraken 1.
I can just, every time, I can hear the salt in your voice whenever he gets those insta kills.
At least that one's not terribly low odds, so I can accept that one.
No, actually, I've been coming around to the use of Bane. I never used it because from vanilla days I didn't know the resistances, and I was always trying to use it on undead, and I thought that it was a useless spell. Mm-hmm. But if you know what it doesn't work against, Bane can be one of the better insta-kill sweepers that you can get early on if you don't have, a nuke or something.
Right. And in chat, questioning if there's a loose incentives. No, there are targeted loose dungeons where specific dungeons will have an incentive item, but in any of the box in that dungeon instead of anywhere in the world. So, not real loose, targeted loose is a good way to say it.
Yeah, and that's a big change between this year's spring tournament and previous tournaments. I know that
we found fast at level 5. I didn't even remember that there was a black magic shop we haven't seen in Melmond. There it is, and it's black mage learnable, so we're good, along with nuke.
Yeah, those are pretty much the two best black magic spells. You hate to see them sharing a level. You hate to find them this late. But what is good is that we're going to have decent charges on that fast slot in level 5.
Alright, moment of truth. Are we going to get the cube from Provoca, or is it going to come from the slab turn-in? Is it going to come from Mirage itself?
Wonder if we get the crown here, if that turns into the cube. We still got the crystal in the wind too, so could be a few stops before we see it. There's Quad X and Warp at level 2. Would have been nice to have those earlier.
The Black Mage really did not get any good sweepers early in this seed. Fire
I'm gonna
3
fix
at level 3, and that was it until Nuke at level 5.
I was going to fix that for you and say the Black Mage didn't really get much of anything this seed until level
It was
5.
just
But
pretty rough.
I mean, Fire 3 is good, but to have to wait until you see at level 3, which they didn't see Elfland until the on-rack location. So for a long time, it really wasn't doing much.
Unless you were Caleb, then it was doing a whole lot that it shouldn't have.
Yeah, well, we can't all get first try zaps on everything.
Crystal turn in. That's a quick one. Not too bad to go over with your ship. Do that and then decide where you have to go next.
No, and look at these runners go. I mean, Caleb is almost in step with GregglyPuff, despite being behind on a couple of key progression things like orb lighting and so on. He's getting through the game at more or less the same pace because a lot of those orbs don't take very long to light. I mean, the Earth orb is, I think, the longest. But yeah, I mean, Caleb right behind GregglyPuff, going to pick up this progression here. GregglyPuff's going to give us a look at this herb item, and we're running out of items to cash in at this point.
Yeah, with the high encounter rate, Earth and Volcano, there's our cube from the herb, so it's like turning into Slab was the play to make. Crystal would probably be Power Bonk or White Shirt, and then Cube or Mirage having the other one. So not worth turning in and looking for if you're Greggly with fast at level 42 Black Belt.
Yeah, definitely. No more boxes for Greggly. Probably not for Caleb either, once if Caleb follows that same decision-making train.
I'd say hard to time it, but with the encounter table as it is, or counter rate as it is, I'd say Caleb with the 2 orbs he is behind that is probably 7 minutes-ish behind. I'd say about 7.
Okay, well, if you're right, that's about how long it takes to get through Topher. So if we see a deep Topher wipe, Caleb's right back in the race.
Could be. Now, unfortunately, Caleb is, like we said earlier, not a 42 Black Belt too, so he's going to need more time in Topher to kill fiends than Greggly's going to need.
Maybe, but it's not that far behind 42, is it? And we do have that big X-Cal swinger.
Yeah, that'll help at least getting through towards the last boss.
Not to mention running and ambushing, if he puts it in slot 1.
Yeah, the luck being not good on the... Oh, sorry, ambushing is agility. I don't remember who had the agility malices and bonuses. I'll have to look real quick.
Oh, well, it's kind of interesting because the thief has a minus 15 to agility. Okay, no, that's all it is. So that is a penalty. It is a significant penalty, but with the high levels, that makes Caleb's thief much better than GregglyPuff's thief, who would be terrible in slot 1.
I'm not 100% on this. I think I'm quoting another runner who knows more about this than I do, Zenobian. But I think Thief doesn't get agility bonus every level until like the 30s, oddly enough. So actually having a level 20 something Thief doesn't put, I think, more than the minus 15 agility back on it that it has from the Malice.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I haven't heard about that, but if that's true, I just learned something today.
Yeah, I think I remember Zenobian saying something about that at one point, so not 100% on that one myself.
Yeah, the other thing that comes into play is you can't go less than 0 agility on level 1, so for many characters, a minus 15 to agility isn't that bad because it only takes away 6 points or so. I think with the Thief, because it has high agility to begin with, it's the nerf it's intended to be.
Yeah, I don't remember what the starting agility is, but it might be 15 on a Thief, to be honest. If at the low end, it'd be 10, I would say.
So GregglyPuff
checked what the crystal turns into. Power Bomb.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That's the better of the two you could have seen, I would say.
Yeah, and based on where he is, I guess it was just a matter of, well, this might be useful and it's very fast to check, so why not do it? The white shirt also could have been helpful, but with the speed and power strats we're likely to see, I don't think you want to take time to cast Invis too. So the Power Bonk's probably the better bet, just in case you wind up one-manning Chaos.
And, making great time here with Greggly entering Topher at 113. Considering how late the floater showed up, this is really fast. Really fast time from Greggly on this flag set.
Yeah, I have to say again that both of these runners are making a tough flag set look really easy. I promise you, it's not this easy. I'm speaking from personal experience. I've run a lot of these seeds, and it can be a real dumpster fire, but these guys know what they're doing. That's why they're here in the semifinals. Caleb's blowing through Sky right now, and GregglyPuff's going to give us a look at this Topher. Let's see if Topher gives this race a second phase.
Caleb going quick, just as quick, I would say, pacing himself out as Greggly paced himself out, but him being the grind behind, is really what's making a difference on how fast Caleb's going compared to Greggly as far as dungeon clears go. At this point, he's going through Sky, which is probably going to be another at least 2 minutes, and like I said, Earth is probably going to be about 5 minutes. And I still put Caleb probably 7 minutes from now-ish, or maybe maybe 6 from entering Topher.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. So GregglyPuff into the first Fiend refight. Of course, it's Lich. Lich is usually known as the speed bump because it normally doesn't take much. That's a bit of a low roll from the damage on the black belt, but the fade finishes the job.
Yeah, and that just goes to show, flag set's getting harder when a level 42 black belt doesn't one-shot Lich 2.
Yeah, which on Lich 2 isn't that big of a deal, but what happens when Tiamat's evasive? I mean, that's the thing that's going to be challenging. I think they've both picked up Lock by this point, but GregglyPuff doesn't have ribbons. His Black Mage could very easily be down.
Yeah, I mean, White Mage too. The White Mage has life too, and White Mage goes down, you can't really salvage anything else that happens afterwards. Get through Carry 2 in 2 rounds. Carry 2 snacks on the Thief, but we're going to bring up that Thief. We got 5 more Life 2 charges, which is probably going to be fine enough.
Yeah, and watch out for that exit boss. GregglyPuff giving me a little bit of a nervous heart flutter there with the hover over the exit. That's actually a disadvantage that I didn't consider with having Life 2 at the same level as exit.
Yeah, I hate having exit on a healing spell that I'm going to use in the menu, or life spells on the same level, or maybe like right above or right under those spells, because you want to menu so fast that you could not get that cursor just right, and you could accidentally hit that exit spell. Thankfully, you get the confirmation message before just getting blasted out of what dungeon you're in.
Yep. Now, this is interesting. GregglyPuff leaving his black belt in the second slot is gambling that it can take a hit. It probably can with 939, but you don't know with this scaling. So we've got some decent damage. I think that was the X-Cal. Was it the X-Cal that did the 439 or the punching? But anyways, okay, so that was the punching. GregglyPuff continuing to cast Ruse. We're up to about 1,000 damage. And okay, low HP Kraken, we're through.
That was a nice fade roll for 308. That's near max from the Thief. Helps out some there in that fight. Possibly saves the White Mage getting punched out.
Yeah, so this party pack with stun and mute is giving GregglyPuff a bit of a challenge here. We've got our runner is stunned, and we've got our caster is muted. This could be a challenge right here.
Yeah, depending on how bad this turn order goes for Greggly, this might end up pretty bad. And he fails the run on the Black Mage, or the Black Belt, but gets it with the Black Mage.
Ooh, he's really lucky he got through there with his white mage still up, because if that had gone down, we could be in trouble. But he's still got all 4 party members up. Going into Tiamat, he has to fight the same back again, but this time he gets the jump on him and gets away. The third
And again,
time.
he got that ambush in Marsh Cave when he saw him early too. So that tells me that pack is more prone to being ambushed by the party. If it happened
absolutely.
3 times in 4 appearances.
Absolutely, and a good thing too, considering what they had. So Tiamat 2 is on the screen. We've got a fade coming out for about 168. That's pretty typical. Fasting up our black belt, removing that white mage for protection. Big, strong hit from that boss refight. GregglyPuff is down to 359 on this black belt, so he's going to pop some heal spells, drop some blocks, try and get this done. We're out of nuke range now, so that's good for GregglyPuff. Is that going to knock anybody down?
Black shirt saves probably that white mage right there. Ooh,
absolutely.
That's not good. We don't have lock. We're going to hope that the black belt doesn't get that bad roll on evasion here. Oh, 535 again. Nuke, no! Oh, no.
White mage is down. We're going to survive this probably.
Oh, tornado too. Oh my! Oh no!
Game just changed.
Oh no! Oh, that was such a vicious tier 2. The big damage punch, the big damage spell, nuke, the big damage non-elemental tornado following it, and then just cure 4 after all the evasion. Make sure black belt just not barely do enough to take her down.
Yeah, knock knock, this is the FedEx guy, because somebody at this address ordered a race. We got one.
I do believe, if I was counting right, that was about 1,100 to 1,200 damage that Greggly pumped into tier 2 before that Cure 4 went off, so not very far from kill, probably.
Yeah, talk about a gatekeeper. So if you're in this position, Thunder, and you've just seen that Tiamat 2, how do you adjust your strategy going in on the second fight?
I put my black belt in the 4th slot, my black mage in the 2nd slot, and I do it again. And this time, my fast goes out, and I get a lock, hopefully, out of the black mage, maybe, before he goes down, and then just punch my way to victory. I try to save fade on my thief, maybe to at least 1 fade, too, for that fight, instead of pumping them out on carry and Kraken.
All excellent adjustments, yeah, and I agree with them all. I was interested to see that GregglyPuff kept the black belt in slot 2 for the Kraken fight even, but I could understand the logic, which is, I don't want to lose my white mage, but you can lose the black mage because you can always bring it back, so why not put it ahead? I think that's probably the right play.
Yeah, I feel like it's a thing that you don't consciously think too much about the strategy of. It does depend. Do you have life magic? No. Put the black belt in the 2nd slot so the mages don't get punched out. Do you have life magic? Yes. Put the black belt in the 4th slot so you can guarantee your way through the fiend fight and raise up your mages later. You definitely have to take into account, do you have life spells where you're putting your black belt, even if it's 42.
Yeah, for sure. So Caleb a little bit further behind GregglyPuff than we thought, but is about to take out Lich and enter Topher in the next minute or so. So GregglyPuff is probably going to have to wipe again in order for Caleb to have a chance. But I'm not wishing any bad luck on anybody. We don't know what that next Tiamat fight's going to be like with that late Cure 4, and we haven't seen Chaos yet either. But the good news for GregglyPuff is at least Chaos himself will not have Cure 4.
The bad news for Caleb, he is not 42, and that T is going to be even worse for him, more than likely, than it was for Greggly.
Yeah, it looks like Caleb's going to break, though, and pick up those last few levels. He heard you. And
he felt the energy.
He did. He heard you through the 10-minute delay. He's going to go back, and he's going to pick up the extra levels, and he's going to need them.
All right, Greg does throw out the fade on carry. That's where I would have probably saved it, my fade charge from the thief. I would have used one on Kraken and then the other one on Tia. But maybe, Greg did get slightly bad luck with how many hits his black belt was hitting on Tia 2 with the 5 for 35 twice. So if that doesn't happen again, and he gets regular, punch for about 500 each round, he should be fine.
Yep. So let's see let's see how things go. And he also did get Kraken down pretty fast. Probably going to be able to do that again simply because of the low HP total. But Kraken can always surprise you. I mean, that's, usually that's the one you're afraid of.
Yeah, I mean, Kraken did hit for, what, about 400, 500 damage on the black belt, I think it was, last fight. So if that goes for the white mage turn 1, it's bad news.
Yeah, that's probably worst case scenario right now. So let's hope that doesn't happen. GregglyPuff takes a hit for about 400, like you said, to the black belt. That's pretty good. White mage is going to ruse up, just trying to keep it alive. We're going to drop a lock. And this second round is probably going to do it with another just hard punch and a quad X.
Oh,
but look at that, the black belt goes down.
Though.
We're going to be slowed down. We're going to have to do the rest of the job with fades. We're out of fades. So fade and quad X, bad turn order here. That's not going to work. We're going to have to go around for at least another level as the fade drops. It does a big 314. That's going to be helpful. Another fade and quad X should do it.
Yeah, we're definitely quad Xing here. I think the max HP Kraken 2 could have is 1600. We did over 1300 total there.
Yeah, a little bit of a scare for GregglyPuff, but Life 2 doing work, bringing everybody back up, and we're going to have to get through the seafood party back again.
Give us those ambushes again. Not this time.
Is he in on the same power cycle? It looks like he is.
Oh my god, it's 3 tiles in a row. I didn't realize that. Oh, that's annoying.
Yeah, I'd be worried about that. I mean, it didn't work out too badly for GregglyPuff this time, but you don't want to get white. That's 3 chances of that pack to at least cost you spells and certainly cost you time.
Oh no. Down goes our white mage to a punch. We gotta get lock. We want to start punching. There's a big punch. There's that zap. We're all resisted, thank goodness. We're gonna punch. We already did like 1300 here with that second round punch. Oh, and that nuke takes down 2 of the 3 light warriors. Greg does get through this time after about 2000 damage.
Yeah, so it's down to 1-on-1. If we can get through the last couple of steps, we do. GregglyPuff has a power gauntlet, but this is by no means guaranteed. We can cast lock.
Yeah, this is the kind of chaos you hope that he does a lot of tier 2 spells and not punch you.
Yeah, and the one thing we don't want to see is slow 2. That is really going to ruin our day.
Got decent evade. Crack is okay with our MDef. We don't mind that. We don't like that punch. Blaze is okay. We got MDef. Nuclear is not great, but we're still at 350. We're doing okay. We've done a big amount of damage here. Uh-oh, we're getting into kneeling territory. Oh no. We wrapped the script around. Oh, but GG! Greggly gets it just barely by the skin of his teeth. Greggly wins with a time of 1:26.00. I believe. Let me check the official time. Yeah, it looks like 1:25.56 official finish time for Greggly.
Yeah, a real showing by GregglyPuff. Faces that early adversity in Topher for the first dive, but manages to pull it through with Caleb hot on his heels. And GregglyPuff joins us in the booth. GregglyPuff, you just won game 1. How do you feel?
I feel pretty good about it. Wow. I can't believe it, to be honest with you. But I'm happy we're here.
Yeah, GG, Greg, man. That chaos was 1 turn away from wrecking your day.
Yeah, that whole Tia 2 chaos thing was just not my favorite thing that's ever happened.
Yeah, no, Tia was very rude to you with that first round of fight that you had with her. Because I think I mathed it out in my head. You did close to 1300 damage. She didn't go down, and she hit Cure 4 out. And that's what feels bad when you're down to, a kneeling black belt at that point.
Yeah.
But you played the seed as you generally have always done. You don't open up extra boxes. You find an incentive in a place. You're like, nope, not risking monster in a box. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
And go fast. And it paid off pretty well. You didn't check any extra stuff. Didn't wipe any monster boxes. Got through every dungeon fast. Got your grind done right at the minute mark. You did 42 at 43 minutes, which is always a good sign to be right on par with your minutes level, I'd say. And just kind of cruise the rest of the seed for it being floaterless. Kind of knocked it out pretty quick for sailing around as much as you had to.
Yeah, close to floaterless. I think that you had to get the floater so you could get the cube. But it was like you got in the air and then you got the cube and then you were done with the seed. And like,
Yeah, because you were pretty much ready to hit go mode as soon as you found Chime and Cube at like 20-something minutes. And then the cube showed up like an hour later almost.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would say is like, luckily Bottom Marsh paid out, but it couldn't go two for and have a Mermaid Side pay out for me. But I got a black sword out of that, which was kind of considering I got zapped. One of them had zap. Somebody had zap.
Yep. Yeah, I think it was Tia that zapped you on your first dive.
Yeah.
And, and then all your light warriors survived it. But yeah, you don't know, that zap might have made that white mage survive. Who knows?
Yeah. But outside of that, I mean, that was like the only thing where I was like, man, if I lose here, I lost. If I lose by 2 minutes, it's because I went Mermaid Side first, which I know the conventional wisdom, always go Kraken Side first, but there's more chests down there. One day it's going to pay out, dang it. And all my practices, practice it's down in Mermaids, but every race day, it's always on Kraken Side.
Right, yeah, no. You can't ever go with your patterns that you see in your race, in your practice, because, like you said, it's always going to show up opposite, and you're going to hate every decision you ever make because you decided to go with what you have always done, and then it's gonna be wrong.
Yeah, it really feels bad when like the Adamant's completely free in the hallway room. You're like, oh, of course.
Yeah, but you had grinded faster. You got to Ice Cave faster than Caleb, and I think that's where the big difference came from. He wiped in Marsh a little more than you did. Mm-hmm. You didn't wipe at all. He wiped, I think, twice, maybe once, twice. You were getting out of Ice Cave by the time Caleb was approaching Ice Cave. But y'all had done the same like turn-ins and stuff and checks up to that point. Then you just kind of stayed slightly ahead of him exploration-wise. The rest of the way, you both grinded the red D. He was about 10 levels behind you on the red D for the grind the whole time. And you just finished. He finished. You both walked away from the grind at the same time because he went to 32. You finished at 42. But you were just able to clear stuff faster. You did Earth Cave while you did the Ruby, whereas he skipped Earth Cave, had to go back to do it at the end.
Yeah. It's Tiamat.
Guys, I want to jump in here. Caleb is actually onto Tiamat 2, and Tiamat 2 opened up with the tornado. If we see first spell nuke, this could be a problem for Caleb, but he's doing good damage here. So the black belt swinging, I think we're about, maybe this X-Cow is going to do the job, but actually it low rolls. So here we go. Going to drop a quad X, going to drop a punch. Caleb is through Tiamat 2 with almost everybody up and has a good shot at taking out Chaos here.
Yeah, definitely a different battle than I saw with TO2.
Yeah, I liked it. You had 2 rounds of 5 hits for 35 damage or whatever on your first fight.
Crit loop for the win.
Yep. So Caleb is healing up. I was a little scared there that he didn't before clearing the rest of that sky floor. You can always get jumped there, but it worked out. Caleb spending his heal pots. He's going to put his black belt in slot 3, as you do, and start this fight. Now we've got 2 ribbons here, which is definitely going to help. So Caleb has got the material advantage. Drops a fast on the black belt. Chaos is hitting the thief, but the thief actually lives. 4 hits for 384. We're going to go with some Invis 2 strats. These are going to be a bit slower, but potentially safer for Caleb. So continuing on, he's going to lean onto that X-Cal, going to lean into the fighting. He's already got fast. Drop a lock 2 to sort of up his damage points a little bit more. We're up to 2 stacks of evade, so the hit's not going to be a big problem. Chaos is dropping that Thunder. We just saw that at the end of GregglyPuff's fight, so we don't know what skill comes after that. Lock 2 coming out. We're worried about that nuke. I think Chaos is holding on to it, so we're going to switch to fades, do a fight, and a nuke. Damage drops down from Caleb. Caleb is hoping that Chaos is low on HP. We know that the HP is not too high. The nuke coming up for 159. We're going to have to see a couple of big swings, though. There's 900. That's what we need. Caleb is getting closer and closer to getting his second place finish. Here's a fade, a swing, and nuke. Is this going to be the round? Here we go. That's about 300 plus this hit, 750. Chaos is still up, drops a crack, but it's not going to hit anybody. Those ribbons are doing work for us. So let's drop a nuke. Let's do some desperation fight swings. We're pretty much just staying with the damage strats, looking for another fast cast to maybe drop on that X-Cal caster. Going to go back to lock, but 522 damage does it. Caleb finishes with the 1 hour, 32 minutes, and 43 seconds. GG's to Caleb.
Wow, that was a very different Chaos fight too.
Well, I mean, he had 4 people up, so that kind of helps out a little bit. Plus, Chaos. It looks like Chaos didn't have any spells. He just had a scripts or
Yeah,
a
because
skill
for
script.
you, he went Thunder, Tornado, or wait, what was it? Thunder something, Nuclear Blaze, something like that.
It was Thunder, Crack, Blaze, Nuclear, and then it
Yeah,
went
there
back
you go.
around to Thunder, and he attacked me twice.
Yeah,
Man, he smacked that thief for like 3 hits. Good
yeah.
thing that
That's
didn't
why I
happen to my
said.
black.
That's why I said you were one turn away from having the worst day, because it was either, I think, Nuclear coming up, or it was Crack. Sorry, so you would have been fine with Crack probably, but then the punch would have got you. Sure.
Yeah, punch would have been really bad. Caleb's here. Hey, Caleb.
Hi, Caleb. GG's.
Hey, GG, Greg.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, Caleb, how do you feel?
I'm all right. I knew I lost after I struggled in Marsh and Ice. Like, Greg's a fantastic runner, and if you give him an inch, it'll turn into a mile. So I knew I had to play like the best FFR of my life, and then I didn't, and I knew I lost. So I was just trying to have fun with it. The second ribbon I found was pretty sweet, and I figured maybe that'll be the difference. I didn't know if Greg was going to keep the thief around because he said in the room he didn't want the thief. So, and I was leaning pretty hard on the thief through the mid game with that run chance and that X-Cal swing. He was pretty helpful.
Yeah. I was pretty excited to see the X-Cal pop up early because I was mentioning how I liked that the thief had the X-Cal bonus, and you picked it up out of top marsh. But Greg didn't check top marsh, so he didn't actually get it.
Yeah. I was listening to the racer, and so answered a lot of my questions. Greg did the same kind of grind that I did. But yeah, it just sounds like the big difference was him one-shotting Marsh and not having the struggle in ice like I did.
So my guess,
I wiped a couple times in ice, but it was
I wiped a lot in ice, so.
yeah, I think
bad.
Caleb, you wiped maybe 2 more times or so than Greg did. But
Yeah.
Greg, like you heard me say, was there a bit earlier because of how his marsh was cleaner than your marsh went.
Yeah, and I thought about doing Earth while I was doing the Ruby stuff, and I was just like, no, because like I need Cube and Floater, and it's like either Cube is in C or it's in Mirage, and Floater's in the other place. So it's like, let me just go knock out C, because it's either going to be my Go Mode or it's going to be my Floater. And it was the Floater, and I was like, wow, I wish I'd come here like as soon as I could have, but it is what it is. Kind of flipped a coin and lost that gamble.
Something that just came to mind when you guys said something about grind tiles is, did you either of you like have a little sense of panic when you both saw the eye and waterfall and thought, oh man, I bet my opponent saw this and grinded it? Did that like go through your mind?
No, because I was like, there's no way Greg didn't do the red Ds, and this would have been nice, but like having to walk out of waterfall with those like crit happy mummies, and I was just like, this would have been gross with the encounter rate. Like I would never probably take a grind in waterfall.
Yeah, I kind of have to agree with that as well. I mean, you're hoping to maybe get your white mage turned to stone so you can exit out after the grind. But I kind of was the same way. I saw the eye and I was like, huh, that's nice to see. But I was like, this is a scary place to grind. You know, he'd be risking a lot taking the grind here as opposed to taking the red Ds. So
yeah,
true. But you know, Caleb, you're gonna have a little chuckle. You're gonna watch this back and you're gonna hear me, complain that I don't have as good of zap luck as you do, because you zapped a lot of things in this race that never had business being zapped so easily.
You gotta lean into it, man. Zap's one of my favorite spells, and it's zap. So it
I think you zapped 2 zombie Ds in a row, and then you went for the third and took a wipe, and then you got your first try Bane on Kraken, which isn't spectacularly rare, but it's Bane, so it's not like Brack or something.
Yeah.
I thought there was another thing you zapped at some point. I was like, of course he zapped it.
I Lich 2.
Oh, you banged the red D too, so I'm like, okay, there.
Well, red Ds are weak to poison element.
They don't resist it. I don't think they're weak to it.
They're the only enemy that's weak to it other than Tiamat.
But with the MDef as high as they have it, it still is not very good odds to hit it.
No, it's like 15% or whatever, but it's like the same odds as Tia, but it's fine. I just needed something. I needed something to get the grind off the ground, and Bane was doing it, and then when I ran out of fades and then X-Cal swings, it was kind of fun just doing that 2-man grind until the the black belt took over.
Yeah, you getting your black belt to 21-ish was faster than the way Greg did it because you had the X-Scal on the Thief, whereas Greg was using the White Mage to supplement fades, which sometimes took 2 rounds as opposed to your X-Scal.
Yeah, the X-Cal was crushing stuff for me, except in Topher.
Yeah, of course.
But it's fine. Yeah. What's that?
I was saying standard X-Cal. It's great,
Yeah.
but you get Topher.
It's great that you need it.
Yeah, and I never needed it. It was just like a really nice to have. But yeah, this was a fun seed. I still stand by. I probably prefer for forced to drafting, but this was like the best party I've ran through these. Like the best sort of balanced party that I've ran through these flags, and it's one of my worst times. So.
Yeah, well, with the encounter table being really high, I feel like you're gonna get very swingy times with these, depending on where the early good run is versus the not so good runs.
Yeah, that's why I never hard reset. I just take all 9 fights every 256 steps and just let the runs fall where they may. And I got all the way to like the loot plate without having taken an encounter basically. So that was fun.
Yeah. Whereas Greg sees 3 tiles in a row of seafood party pack after cracking 2.
Yeah, screw that.
Yeah,
not that they were like, but yeah, not that they were particularly gross or anything, but
Well, they were. It's just that they had a tendency to be ambushed, like you would ambush them and be able to get away. They actually had new touch and paralyze ability and a lot of things to really ruin your day. And I think it was GregglyPuff had some trouble with them the first time.
Yeah, he actually almost took a few, maybe a wipe. He would have lost 3 White Warriors if he didn't get the run on the fight turn that he did.
Yeah, I think the lobsters had gaze, and either the sea snakes or the trolls had stun touch. So they, of course, would stun my 2 luck people, and then I would struggle to run away. And I was scared I was going to lose my white mage there. But then, Tiamat had other plans anyway, so it didn't really matter.
And that's where he got through Marsh easier than you, Caleb, because when he saw that tile in Marsh and guarding that loot, he got the ambush on that pack and ran right away. Whereas you obviously had the harder luck there and did not get that ambush.
Yeah, I still managed to get away. I got really aggressive in Marsh and went.
Oh yeah, I pointed out, I was
black
like,
belt white mage with just one shot of fade.
Missed like 6 attacks in a row on you. I was like, oh my god, he's gonna get through this.
Yeah, I should have gone to Elfland first just to have a house. From like I should have known that there probably would have been a house for sale or like to recharge, because going into Marsh with just 2 light warriors I knew was a gamble, but it is what it is.
But honestly, you've heard me say it, but I think you guys, for having the floater show up as late as you did, ran the seed really well. I mean, if the floater shows up early and the other key items kind of land as easy as it did, this could have been, close to an hour seed by both of you instead of being an hour 20, hour 30.
Yeah. It's fun. It's fine.
Fine.
But I am like, yeah. Go ahead, sorry.
I don't like going up against the wall here. Down. I need to win 2 in a row against Greg. It's going to be pretty tough to do.
Yeah, that's a hard feeling to go into a race 2 with. But obviously one of you had to go into that race 2 with that feeling.
Yeah. Well, we'll take it one race at a time. We'll see what tomorrow brings.
Sure. Tomorrow at noon.
Tomorrow at noon.
Yep.
All right, well, you got anything else you want to add, Rock Solid, or are you going to close it out?
Well, let's just do a quick question and then we'll wrap this up. It was a question from chat for GregglyPuff. Well, was there an input error with the fast on the Thief versus Tiamat 2 the first time through?
Yeah, that was a total just nerves. I was like, let me fast up my block. That would have been the difference in that battle versus Tiamat if I had gotten the fast off and put it actually on the black belt as opposed to putting it on the Thief. The second that happened, and then Tia took like a punch, it was like 10 hits for 300 damage. I was like, oh, this is not going to be good. And then the next 2 punches in a row were like 5 hits for 35. I was like, come on, what is this battle? But yeah, that was clearly a little input error there.
Yeah, well, fair enough. It didn't cost you the race, so GG's to you. Okay, I guess it's time for a wrap-up. We'll go around and do final thoughts, and starting with you, Caleb, any final thoughts?
No. GG, Greg.
Okay, that's so short and sweet, so we love it. How about you, GregglyPuff?
No, I mean, I thank you guys for doing this race. I know it's kind of a weird time on a Friday to get together and put a show together, but I appreciate Speed Gaming for having us, both of you guys for taking time out of your day to throw some comms together. And Caleb, of course, my opponent. I'm like, you know, it's always a pleasure to race people that you just get along with really well, and I'm just very excited about these next couple races against Caleb. So GG's to Caleb, and we'll see what happens tomorrow at noon.
Yeah, definitely very exciting. This race coming up tomorrow at noon. On that note, let's take a quick look at the schedule. We do have that race, which is game 2 tomorrow at noon. It's going to be right here on Speed Gaming. At 8 p.m. tomorrow, we're going to have the third race, if it's necessary, between Fry Teeth and Pickles and Beer, because they're actually going to play game 2 tonight at 8:30. And if Fry Teeth wins, then there will be no game 3. So both of the semifinals are set to wrap up this weekend one way or another, because if we get a game 3 in this series, that will be played on Sunday at noon, all times Eastern. So that's going to do it for us right here at the Final Fantasy Randomizer community. Another one in the books, another fantastic race. Thank you all very much for joining us. From all of us here at the Final Fantasy Randomizer community, I'm RockSolid84 for Thunderclawed. Want to say thank you very much. Until next time, keep your head up and don't forget to go fast.